So I'm gonna say good night to Erin now. Like she's every time I come on, she always ready to party. I know you want to get out. Open the clubs for you. Just open the clubs and let you out.
Just let me out, man. I'm so sick of this pandemic. Just let me out to the clubs.
So, I know, man. A lot of us we can't wait. We just like, oh my gosh, I just want to get out and actually hear some music and have a really good time, drink with some friends, and
Right?
socialize. Yeah, yeah. I can't wait till that day come again. So how are you? How are you, Erin?
I am fantastic. Fantastic. It has been such great weather. So really just taking in the sunshine and getting out for walks and runs and all the good stuff. So it's really just put me in a good mood.
So I always have to not I, but we always have to start the interview with the show, I should say, with letting people know who you are because we always have new listeners, everything, who you are and what is the Joy Trick.
Yeah, so I'm Erin. I am a self love and divorce recovery coach, and I empower women and men to become the heroines or heroes of their own epic love story. So basically, we're going to be talking all about dating after divorce, which is always fun. And it is definitely different than, getting out of a uh, normal relationship. I mean, it is kind of the same process, but there it is a little bit more on a like magnified scale.
Mhm.
So there are a few things that I do want to talk about, unless there's any questions that have come up already.
Not yet. I'm sure that everyone wants to hear what you want to talk about.
Perfect. Good. Then I will continue on.
Okay.
So, the first thing I would say that if you are still thinking about your ex, you have angry thoughts about your ex, you have anything to do with your ex in a negative way that's in your head, you are not ready to date. And so the reason why I say that because there are a lot of people that, get out of a divorce or a breakup and have this still longing for their ex and this anger for their ex, and you're going to take that into the next relationship, which is going to really not necessarily allow you to connect with the next person as well, or as best as you can. So I would suggest, if you are, still hung up on your ex, or, really, cursing his name every time you wake up at 3 a.m. at night, like, do not start dating. The one thing I will suggest is, despite the negative stigma around therapy, therapy is your friend. I honestly think that going to talk to someone about what you're going through from an objective level is completely healthy. And it is one of the things that I did to kind of combat the negativity I was having in my brain about the relationship and the downfall and what had happened. And they really gave me the tools to step forward into being able to combat those and start loving myself again, and then in turn teaching myself how to do my own things. But yeah, if you have a chance, it's something that is needed, is go talk to someone.
Can I ask a
And
question? Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Because I mean, as a man, how would
Hmm.
you convince a guy to actually go to see counseling? Because that's one of the hardest thing for
Oh yes.
to actually go in front of a total stranger and say, "Hey, this is what's bothering me. This is a problem."
And that's the issue, is that there is such a stigma around going to see therapy for yourself as a couple, which I actually think that going to see a therapist and going to, sorry if you can hear my cat, I'm sorry, she's
So,
going crazy with something. um, but it actually helps you, it enhances your relationship because it's going to allow you to communicate better, it's going to allow you to be able to work through problems better. And that includes with the relationship with yourself. So after going through something catastrophic like that, where you had this life with someone and it is completely taken away from you, that's not something little.
Mm.
And despite, it happening to you and you're like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm just going to go out, I'm going to date, and I'm going to like find my next husband. No, it's really not going to happen like that. And, I didn't have all the tools when I first got out of my divorce. So I went to go see a therapist and I was like, look, this is what's happened. And it really helps. So I really think that that is an important step in helping work through those feelings and those negative experiences that you had, whatever has happened in the breakdown of your relationship, because it could be, a surface level issue, or it could be deeper things, like you like went through abuse or something deeper than that. I think that whether it's big or small, it's still traumatic to the system. So I would say do that, go to a therapist, deal with your shit, because you can't do it alone. And then you start assessing, when you do all that and you start to ask yourself, okay, so I do want to date, but why do I want to date? Why do I just want to fill the void? Do I just want to get laid? Do I just want to go and feel love from another person? And those are not necessarily the best reasons to date, because at this point you need to be nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself, and in turn learning how to give that love back to yourself. So really going through the things that we have talked about in previous sessions here, where it's about finding what you like to do. What are the areas in your life that are lacking, and really fill those up. And then, your world and your life is going to be more whole. And then you can move through that and work through your, emotion through that. And then you're going to actually start figuring out, okay, so what did work in the relationship that I had, but also what didn't, and what are those things that I don't want? Because when you start pinpointing those things, when you get into a relationship and you start dating and you start seeing those things that you've noted for yourself, they're like, ugh, red flag, like I don't want that, like it's about being able to recognize those things. Mm-hmm. And then you'll be even more confident in your choices for a partner and who you date. Because I think after going through a big breakup and for me a divorce, like who I date now I'm very intentional. And
You know what? Not cutting you again. See, that's a good phrase that you just said. You're very intentional. Now I want you to break that down when you say that.
Yes. So when you are being intentional when you're dating, is that you're dating intentionally. So the person that you choose is not necessarily just someone you want to go fuck. No,
Yeah.
No offense, but it's someone you're like, okay, this person actually has some of the qualities that I really look for in a person, and like you have a conversation. You don't necessarily just jump right into the sack with them. You actually want to learn and develop a relationship. And you're not scared of commitment. You're not scared of, being left, because you've already dealt with all those issues because you went to go see your therapist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and one of the things actually I will mention, I have created a dating and an authentic dating profile worksheet, where it actually takes you through the different things that you should be looking at when you're creating your profile. So that way you can come across as authentic and intentional when you're dating. Because I mean, everyone's on the apps now. And the one thing that I've learned to do is not only am intentional with what I put into my profile, but also look at what others are putting into their profile. Like if they say, if the pictures that they're using are, all like basically they're wearing no clothes and holding fish, I don't know. Maybe that's for you. That it could be. But it being intentional with, maybe even listening to your intuition when you're going through the apps and when you're creating your profile. Feeling out, okay, like what initially do I feel about this person? Yeah, he's super hot, but maybe see if he can carry a conversation, see if they can, they have interests. And I mean, don't get me wrong, when you get out of a breakup and you get out of a divorce, you're just gonna probably want to date anything at all. But I think it is really a choice of stepping into that, identity that you want to date, you want to find that person, and you are whole yourself. Because after going through something like that, you most likely, I did felt like I wasn't enough, that no one's going to like me because I'm damaged goods. But you kind of have to get over all that shit, and that's the stuff that you need to work through in order to be able to have a relationship with someone else, because you have a great relationship with yourself, and it starts there. So um yeah, so really just being able to intentionally look at, and start listing out what you want in a partner. What are those characteristics? And I want to mention this because I have done it myself, but don't look at the fantasy of someone. Look at the actual reality of someone. Because we look at people's pictures, and it's a thing now, or we like meet someone and you are completely enamored with them, and you start role playing in your head about walking down the aisle with them, like, and it's literally you haven't even had a first date with them. And I think just stepping back, if you're anything like me, because I've previously done that, so you're not alone. But just being able to step back and just put yourself back in reality. Okay, who is this person? What are their values? What are they putting into, meeting me? Are they, making dates? Are they making conversation? Are they asking questions? Um, just really feeling it out, instead of, because I think that's where people trip up, because they get so fascinated by a person and they just want a relationship and they just want to be with someone
You think you
that,
think that is like
sorry,
you do think is the fact that they just want to be in a relationship, or do you think that just lusting over this person, or because they're lonely and maybe this
it could be all of that. I think it's all of that, where it's just that, you start dating before you're ready, where you're just, you know it's going to the dating apps, because that's what all we can do right now, and just swiping through and just being like, oh, that got like, and latching on. It's like we're all little leeches, and we just, don't really think about the aftermath of, going through the dating process. We just want to get to the end. Everyone wants like a quick fix. Everyone wants to, find their person, and I get it. I am one of those people. But to be able to start dating intentionally, instead of, you know finding a few things like physically or like surface level checks that are on your list, and like completely fall madly in love, and want to continue relationship, I mean, I caution that. And it's just, again, like, it's being aware of yourself and what you want, and going through the dating process and actually slowing down. How do you feel on the first, second, third date? Are they, pushing you to do things that you want to do? Are they control, like, just take a step back and actually, like, really be thoughtful about what you're doing.
Okay, I have a question here from
Yeah.
Mary. Mary's asking you, if you had to go to a marriage counselor, would you consider going to a marriage counselor who has never been married to give you advice about marriage?
That is the question of the day, Mary. You know what? So my marriage counselor, therapist, whatever, it was married. So I've never been to one that's not. Um, I would not say that they have any less experience, yet I do feel that someone who's been through it and knows the situations, and like whether or not they're still married or whatever, they've got had that experience. They know what it's like. So to answer your question, if I were to choose between, like, if one was married and one was not, and I mean at that point, I don't know if I would even know that until you actually meet them and have a conversation. But yeah, I'd probably pick the married person.
What about, she said also, what about if you think if you're being biased, like targeting a particular um couple, sorry, a particular individual. But for me personally, my advice to that is, for her personally, is that I think everybody's going to think the same way. I think he's probably going to think that the guy is picking on him too, and not you. So I don't really think that the doctor is, so he's really, or she is really pointing at you per se, Mary. I just think
Yeah.
you just feel like everything is on you, because, and I guess at that session they're talking about you, so you're actually getting to see your faults. And I realize that's a lot of problem with a lot of people. When they get to see their faults, then they get when the eyes start to open
You
up.
get defensive,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of them can't handle
No
it.
one likes to know their faults, but if you don't know your faults, you're never going to get, you know, out of that funk and
Yeah, it
better
can improve.
yourself.
Yeah, basically can improve. I agree with you. I agree with
Yeah.
you. Yes. So
And
that
are you giving advice now? What is this? This is my show.
I've been
Just
there.
kidding.
I've been there, so I know what it's like. I know what
You
it's like.
know what? And that's a thing too with therapists and therapy. It is honestly finding one that you jive with and you gel with, because and it's harder too because you have two individual people that are different, that have different views on things, and trying to get a therapist that kind of works for both of you sometimes is hard if the other person isn't really wanting to do it. But I do think that, just having that objective uh, viewpoint, and it really brings to light some things. And it's funny because my experience with my therapist was that she basically, and therapists are not supposed to tell you what to do, but she basically told me, like, look, like, this person is out of it. I don't think they're coming back from it. I would suggest you kind of move on from the situation. And honestly, I was very, like, happy she said that, because it's nice to have someone else kind of validate how you feel, and to know what to do. And not that she was telling me what to do, but she was kind of letting me know honestly what that other person was feeling. And I appreciated that a lot.
So, do you think she was your moving force, like to actually make that decision?
You know what? It was definitely the key, but there were a lot of other things that, there was senses of relief that happened after we decided to separate. There was, a lot of little things that kind of added up, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not right. So, but yeah, having that validation gave me more of a sense of power to be like, okay, what I was feeling is true. I'm
Okay.
going to move forward.
Okay. And was it, I mean, but I know a lot of people out there that they handle things differently.
Yeah.
But with this whole situation after, do you think that this made you a better person of understanding what is needed and what is not needed in your next relationship?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Honestly, not to say that I would ever ask anyone or tell anyone to get divorced, but it is the one of the biggest learnings you could ever have in your life. I mean, there's lots of ways that you can have big learnings and big shifts in how you think about things, but when you go through something like that, and to me, I was going through the motions and not even realizing that the relationship was in the basically in the shits, and I just kept going. But getting out on the other side of that and seeing a bird's eye view of what my relationship actually was and what was happening was such incredible insight into, kind of like, what the hell were you doing, Aaron? And I won't ever let that happen again. And it really like pushed me to, do what I'm doing now and being able to see relationships differently, and first and foremost, like how I see myself, because I didn't see myself as a very like independent and self-aware and, confident woman at all until after my divorce. So yeah, like I have to say, like it was the best thing that ever happened to me, as much as it was the crappiest part.
So what advice would you give? What advice you would give any female out there right now that who really needs to hear what you just said? What advice would you give to them?
I would say listen to your gut and don't don't stay in a relationship that doesn't make you happy. And if it's not fulfilling you and you feel like you're just living life, going through the motions, not feeling inspired, and you're feeling just blah, and you don't have any sort of connection to your partner, and life isn't fun anymore. Life is it's just being this shell of a person. So yeah, I think it's a lot. It's I would say learn as much as you can about yourself, what you like, what you don't like, even if you're in a relationship, because that's going to start, really unlocking who you are as a person, and where you fit in the relationship. And if you guys are able to meet each other where you're at and continue to support each other, great. But if you feel like a relationship is holding you back and you're not feeling fulfilled, I would say start evaluating what you want out of life and if that relationship is in fact what you want.
And Angela is asking, what about if the relationship is just physical?
What is the question?
She's saying that.
Angela, what is the question? If the relationship,
she's in a relationship, but right now with her husband, but right now it is just physical. Is nothing else. So she said, "What?" So do you think that that's a good idea or a bad idea?
If the relationship is just physical, there's no emotional connection, there's no communication.
No.
Okay, so I mean, the question you have to ask yourself, and it must be that it is bothering you because you're asking a question. Does this work for you? Are you able to have a conversation with your husband and say, hey, look, babe, I am really enjoying our sex life, but I want to connect with you on another level. I want to get to know you. Can we, start dating again and go on little dates and, go, I mean, you can't go too many places, but like go for a walk together, make a dinner together, put candlelight out, like do little things that like bring the spark back to make you actually want to talk to each other, ask how each other's day was, send each other emails. Like there are things you can do to enhance the, emotional part of it, but both parties have to be willing to do that. And if they're not, then I would start looking at, what is it again that you want out of a relationship. And if you're not getting it and you've made, a case for it and it's not happening, Yeah.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. If it's not, you just got to see what's best for you. If it's working for you, well,
Yeah.
each his own. That's all I can say. But yeah, we never know what happens in the closed doors. And the doors are closed. You don't know. It's until someone tell us what's really happening. I don't want.
Yeah. And that's the hardest thing about relationships is that everyone's relationship is different. Everyone's going through different things. Yet we can relate on certain topics, but like it all comes down to the individual and what they want and their inner knowing. Because in the end, if you know yourself at all, what you want and what you need. And if you're not getting what you need, then start exploring that and figure out how to get it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I want to ask you a question based on what you said earlier in terms of letting go. Remember, there was a question they were asking about letting go. Now I have another question here based on the same thing. What if you let go, but realize after you let go that you made a mistake? Then the pride
Okay.
takes over. Now what?
Well, I honestly think that if it was meant to be, it will be. So if you believe that you have made a mistake and you want to, make things better, I would, go and talk to your ex and say, look, I've been doing a lot of thinking and here are the things that, I want to do differently. I, said some things and I made a decision that I'm now regretting. You know, how do you feel about, going on a date for coffee and talking or, seeing if there's still an opportunity
Mhm.
for that relationship. And if not, let it go.
That's easier said than done.
It totally is. But the hard things are, what makes the world go around. And once you do that hard thing, and if it wasn't meant to be, clearly there's something else better for you that you have no idea about. And then in, 10 years, you'll be like, oh, got that. I know that's a long time to wait, but um, I do think that if you put the effort into, fixing things with your partner, if they're, if it's meant to be, he or she is gonna be, you know, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. And as I said to you before, the thing is with relationships, it's so hard to predict. Um, in terms of how everything is going to play out in the end. Because it starts off so wonderful, so great at the first time. Boom, boom, everybody's kicking off good, and then after a few months, it's like let's move in together. It's like no, why did I do that? You know,
And that's the risk we take in life. We take so many risks. We take risks in relationships. We take risks in career. We take risks on like that is what we are most afraid of uncertainty, of not having answers. I know I deal with that every day. But if we didn't have risk and we didn't, have that, uncertainty, life would be enjoyable.
I was
Like,
just about to say that life would be just too boring.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would just enjoy and as much as you can, but just really feel it out. Follow your gut, whatever you think is right. Follow that intuition, and you can only do what you can do. So you can't control everything. So I would just let it go.
So, before we go, I know I always ask you to leave a little advice to everyone out there. We're not saying women, everyone out there, your piece of advice, Erin's advice before you go.
I would say, you are stronger than you think. You are smarter than you think. You are worth more than you think. And you just have to realize it.
Mhm. Okay. And I want to also say to you, Erin, that you are doing a fantastic job.
Thank
There are
you.
there are people here that I know personally that listen to the show, and obviously they're not going to they don't want to put their name out there, but some questions
Understandable.
to ask me to ask you, I guess, and it's helping them. Some of them been through some rough patches, and some things that you have mentioned, I guess they can understand exactly, or relate the things that you were talking about. As you said before, everyone relationship is different, but in some way the breakups is always be like, like similar,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. So even if it's something different, it's all the feelings the same, the emotions the same. It's just be it
The
basically.
same hearts are being broken. Hearts are being broken.
But I just want you to know that, So
Thank you.
it definitely is. We do look forward for you on Wednesday to enlighten some people out there who actually have needs that encouragement and needs that upliftment in terms of moving forward after their breakup. And I want to thank you very much, Aaron. Appreciate that very much.
Well, guys, it is an honor to be able to hang out with you on Wednesday nights and spend time, talking about love and dating and heartbreak and all that good stuff. So, again, I will be continuing to do Wednesday nights. So, if you guys have any topics or questions that you want to me to cover, do send them in, and I will be sure to note you, and we'll talk about it.
Awesome, awesome. Aaron, I want to thank you very, very much. And we're gonna do this again next week. Same time,
Next
same
week.
same station. And you enjoy the rest of your week.
Okay, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Next week, have a fantastic night. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.